be asleep in bed, I will be there and watch over you. When you wake, I will not be able to move any part of you.
Imagine waking up, but you can't move. You can't speak. You can't even blink. You're completely aware of everything around you, but your body won't respond to anything you tell it to do. This terrifying condition is called locked-in syndrome, and it's very real. But what if I told you that in 2003, this happened to over 500 people in Pennsylvania, and it wasn't caused by an accident or a disease? It was caused by watching TV. This is the story of the Boiled One phenomenon, one of the most disturbing pieces of analog horror ever created. What happened in 2003? On August 13th, 2003, people in Pennsylvania were watching a normal TV show called Tree of Heaven. It was a nature documentary about forests and wildlife, the kind of show you'd watch to relax before bed. Nothing scary, just trees and animals. But during episode 13, something went horribly wrong. The broadcast was hijacked. The peaceful nature scenes disappeared, and suddenly, a face filled the screen. This wasn't a normal face. It was elongated, skinless, and glowing with a deep red color. The thing just stared at the camera with unblinking eyes. It didn't move. It didn't scream. It just watched. This entity had a name, Fen 228, but most people call it the Boiled One, the sound that destroyed lives. Along with the face came a sound, a distorted trumpet blast that seemed to vibrate inside your skull. If you know anything about religious symbolism, trumpets are supposed to announce the end of the world, the final judgment. For the 530 people who watched this broadcast, it really was the end of their world. Within hours, emergency lines were flooded with calls. People were found sitting in their chairs, eyes wide open, staring at their TV screens. They were alive. Their hearts were beating, but they couldn't move. They couldn't speak. They were completely locked inside their own bodies. What the victims experienced, but the blackout couldn't save the people who had already seen him. These victims were trapped in their own bodies, unable to move or speak. Doctors eventually figured out they could communicate through blinking and Morse code. And when they did, the stories they told were all the same and absolutely horrifying. The victims said that even with their eyes closed, even in a dark hospital room, they could still see the Boiled One. He was burned into their vision, standing in the corners, watching them with that red, skinless smile. One victim, using the fake name Job Zamperini, said the entity wasn't just watching, it was living inside his brain and feeding on his spine. This detail is important. Your spine is the highway for all movement in your body. By feeding on the spine, the Boiled One was consuming their ability to ever move again. He was turning them into a permanent, paralyzed audience, forced to watch him forever. The dark history behind the name. So why is he called the Boiled One? This is where the story gets even darker and connects to real history. Hidden in the videos are references to World War II, specifically to Japanese prisoner of war camps in 1944. The name Zamperini is a direct reference to Louis Zamperini, a real American Olympic athlete who was captured and brutally tortured by the Japanese during the war. His main torturer was a man named Mutsuhiro Watanabe, nicknamed the Bird, who was infamous for his cruelty. The theory is that PHEN 228 represents the spiritual echo of that torture and suffering. He's red and skinless because he represents the exposed nerves of everyone who was ever tortured into silence. He's the manifestation of trauma that has found a way to travel from the past into the present through our technology. He's called the Boiled One because he represents the boiling point of human cruelty and suffering. A new kind of God. When the Boiled One speaks, his voice is disturbingly warm and calm, which makes it even creepier. He claims he will be our new God, but not a God who saves you. He's a God of permanence, of being trapped forever. He tells his victims that he's been waiting for them, that he watches over them while they sleep. This is the ultimate horror. Most scary stories threaten you with death, but the Boiled One threatens you with a life that never ends and never moves. You're trapped in your own head forever, and he's the only other thing in there with you. The safety protocol. What makes this analog horror truly brilliant is how it involves the audience. The video often comes with safety protocols that tell you to prepare before watching. You're supposed to have earplugs, a pencil, paper, and a Bible open to Psalm 91-10. The instructions tell you to write down things like, "I can see this paper, and I am a moving, breathing human being." These are reality checks to keep you grounded, so the Boiled One can't slip into your subconscious. By giving you these instructions, the creator blurs the line between fiction and reality. It makes you feel like maybe, just maybe, this could actually hurt you. It forces you to think about your own body and your ability to move, and how fragile that ability really is. The virus made of memory. The scariest part of the Boiled One's power is revealed when you analyze his speech more carefully. He talks about how the very memory of my face is what allows him to exist. This is the genius of the concept. He's not a physical monster. He's a virus made of information. You don't have to be watching the video for him to be there. You only have to remember him. Once you know what he looks like, once you've heard his trumpet, he has a foothold in your mind. He doesn't need to jump out of a closet because he's already behind your eyes. Memory is the only thing humans can't truly turn off, and that's where he lives. What it all means. The Boiled One phenomenon is really about the silence that follows trauma. The victims are locked in, just like how history often locks away its most painful secret. The government trying to delete all evidence of the 2003 broadcast mirrors. How society tries to move on from horrible events without ever truly facing them. But the Boiled One can't be deleted. He's the raw nerve of human suffering, returning to remind us that trauma doesn't just go away. It waits. It watches. He represents a judgment that doesn't come with fire or explosions, but with total, paralyzing stillness. The lasting effect. When you finish watching footage of the Boiled One, you might notice the silence in your room feels heavier. You might find yourself moving your fingers or taking a deep breath just to prove to yourself that you still can. That's the legacy of this analog horror. It turns the simple act of living into an act of defiance. It reminds us that our ability to move and speak is a gift that we take for granted. The Boiled One represents the fear that this gift could be taken away in an instant by something as simple as looking at the wrong image. So the next time you hear a strange sound you can't identify or see a flash of red in a dark room, remember the protocols. Hold on to your reality. Because according to the lore, the Boiled One isn't just a story from 2003. He's a memory, and that's all he needs to be real. He's watching. He's waiting, and for those who have seen his face, the trumpet is already starting to play. Stay awake, stay moving, and whatever you do, don't let the memory settle. Because once you're locked in, there's no way out. There's only the face, the red color, and the eternal, unblinking eyes of the one who watches. The government cover-up. The government response was immediate and extreme. A secretive group called the Ephrata Branch took over the investigation. They realized this wasn't just a technical glitch. This was what's called a cognitohazard, which is a fancy term for something that can harm you just by looking at it. The image of the Boiled One was so dangerous that simply seeing it could rewire your brain and shut down your nervous system. So, what did they do? On August 14th, 2003, they shut down the entire power grid. Not just in Pennsylvania, but across New York, New Jersey, Ohio, and even parts of Canada. You might remember this as the Great Northeast Blackout of 2003. The official story was that a tree fell on a power line in Ohio. But according to this lore, the real reason was to stop the Boiled One's signal from spreading through the electrical grid. It was a digital quarantine, trying to trap a monster inside the wires before it could reach more people.